Hello. Are you thinking about starting a YouTube channel, but you're not sure where to begin? Well, I was once there, but finally I overcame all the barriers. I am Emmanuel Dansu, and in this video, I'll share the exact practical steps I took to start my channel from mindset to the technology I had to use and up to naming, to niche, and all of that. Of course, the first thing is what inspired me to start, right? So, um, how did it all start? What was the inspiration about? I had always taught mathematics, right, for a very long time, starting from high school around, say, in the late 90s, right? Late 90s, till date, right? I've been teaching maths all the way, all the way. So, and with the advent of YouTube, a lot of people they have channels teaching mathematics and everything like that. But from time to time, that thing just keeps haunting me that, oh, you've been teaching maths. Why not just take it on YouTube? And the beauty of having teaching maths on YouTube is that, I remember, for instance, I probably have taught, uh, topics like calculus for as long as possible. Like maybe I've taught several people, hundreds of people. But the beauty of YouTube is that once you teach it one time, it's always there. So that was one inspiration. So the basic thing is to put all the knowledge I've had as much as possible on YouTube, especially maths. Of course, there are other things too that I talk about. I might also get into that, but I'm focusing more on maths. Especially in the next video, I'll be giving practical tips on how I get to teach mathematics on YouTube. So what inspired me to start is that I want to make my knowledge available forever, as if that's possible, right? Of course, there are early fears and misconceptions like how will I start? I don't have all the expensive gears and everything. So at some point I had to overcome that. Of course, you need basic things like maybe a laptop and things like that. Definitely. But once a lot of people have all these basic things, in fact, maybe some people even have more more technology than me and they're still afraid to start a YouTube channel. So I'm making this video for people like you so you can get to start. So now, of course, the first video I had to make was actually the what do they call that video now? That video with which you introduce your channel. So I can call that a channel introduction video, right? Channel introduction video. So that was actually my first video, right? So uh you know, I think it lasted for like 2 minutes or less, where I basically just had to talk about, what, of course, focusing on the math thing, right? Basically focused on the math thing. So that was the first video I made, and I released that first. And so while I try to prepare other things, for sure, until you start, sometimes when you have not started something, you think that it is really difficult and you can't even get around it and things like that. Thankfully, my wife had started a YouTube channel I think like in 2019 or so, or 2020. So she has a YouTube channel and she's been uploading videos there. So all that while I was on my PhD program and all that, right? So because of her insights, she started me out, and of course she started me out, and of course she's into maybe you don't know, she's into making designs with Canva and all of that. So we had to start with the whole branding thing, right? So of course, I uploaded my first video. I think the most difficult video to upload is your very first one. Just like I also said about books, right? If the most difficult book to write is your first book. So once you can write your first book or upload your first video, then you get started and then you can keep going. So at the end of the day, um, you know, you discover that consistency is greater than perfection, right? So most times, most people just you want to get everything set. You want to be sure everything is prim and proper, but that doesn't always work, right? So just start and keep fine tuning and keep getting better, basically. So consistency is far better than perfection. So now the question is, what do you need to begin, right? What do you need to begin your channel? Okay, I think that's a very valid question you want to ask yourself. what do you need to begin? Of course, uh, first of all, you need to know that you need you don't need fancy gear. You don't need fancy gear, right? You don't need fancy gear. Of course, I don't have a problem with if you have maybe if you're already in that space where you already edit videos and things like that. Of course, you can use it to your advantage as much as possible. But I mean, for someone like me, I am not so much into editing videos and things like that. More of, writing, editing, text, right? And of course, teaching. So for as far as I'm concerned, for me, I just want to teach and just and just walk away. But of course, you still need some technology, that's for sure. But of course, you don't need all the fancy gear, you don't need all the expensive things. The one thing is that as you grow, once you start, as you grow, you definitely end up getting all those fancy food stuff, but you don't need them to start. I think that's very essential to know, very, very essential to know. So, of course, some basic things you need, some essential tools you will need, right? Um, okay, for some, all you be just you don't need more than a smartphone, right? You have a smartphone, right? An internet enabled phone. And then after that, of course, now another issue is, do you need to show your face? For me, I mean, right now, I'm not even showing my face, right? So once in a while I get to show my face, but if you have to show your face, more things have to go into that. But of course, some kind of uh YouTube channels require you to show your face, of course. So by all means, show your face. So in my case, since it's maths I'm teaching, I don't necessarily need to show my face, right? So I just write and then people can follow what I'm teaching. So I don't show my most of the times I don't show my face. So but if you need to show your face, of course you need to work on your lighting. Um, so again, you don't need fancy lighting. You can just use natural lighting if you can use it to your advantage, especially if you're in an environment that allows you to do that. And of course, you need a free editing software. Now, I did not get to edit any of my videos until maybe after I'd made more than 500 videos possibly. So because my philosophy is I wanted to have that natural class feel, that so that I wanted to feel that when you're listening to my math classes, you are in class. So and in class sometimes there are mistakes, we go back on it and everything. So I didn't have to edit. But later I discovered, so sometimes when I after do teaching for long and maybe something goes wrong, I have to start from the scratch. So that can be very tiring, right? So because of that, I just then at some point I began to do very minimal editing. Maybe if I had to stop a video, I can record another one, then join the two together. That's the kind of editing I've been doing. Of course, I know time is going to come that maybe I'll start doing all the very maybe when I have a team, so to speak, and I can then begin to have all this fanciful kind of editing. But I'm just starting talking about starting now, so you don't have to wait until you have all the fancy stuff for sure. So it is important, right, that you have clarity. Okay, when you start out, clarity is more important than quality. Of course, just like I said, if you can get as far as you can be clear, as far as people can listen to you. In fact, some of the most thriving YouTube channels, they are not the videos are not even shot in any fanciful place. Maybe some videos are even in slums and they are doing the numbers, right? So just start out, let have a clear message, have a clear audience and things like that. So at the end of the day, you need things like time, you need time, you need consistency. All right. You need time, you need consistency. You need message, a clear message, just like I said. Message matters more than tech, right? Message matters more than tech. So now another question you want to answer is what is actually your niche? For me, right? I already knew my niche is mathematics primarily. There are other things I do on my channel. I get to talk about scholarships. I get to talk about personal development. I even do some Bible talks sometimes. These are all things I'm very passionate about. But the bulk of the videos are actually on mathematics. In fact, I even make sure I made shots at artificial intelligence at some point. So if you're starting your own channel, you need to be sure about your niche. What niche are you going for? Right? There are different kinds of niches. You have finance, you have education, you have lifestyle, and all of those things. For me, I naturally fall into that education place because my focus is on, teaching mathematics and talking about scholarships and all of that. So, to have a sustainable niche, right? To have a sustainable niche, right? You need the following. You need passion. just like I'm passionate about mathematics. So apart from passion, you need purpose. Why exactly do you want to do what you want to do? Then you need to also meet the demand of your audience, right? You need to meet the demand of your audience. Now, one thing that guides my the kind of videos I make, especially when teaching maths, is requests. So sometimes if I've had to make videos for people, maybe they are in a semester and they have difficulty with certain topics. So and then they tell me, oh, do you have videos on this one? And then I just follow those demands and I make the videos for them, because at the end of the day, you're not just making the videos for yourself, you're making it so that it can benefit people, right? So, of course, one thing that happens is, people can easily get burnt out. There can be people can get burnt out easily. How do you avoid that? So, you need to choose what, choose what you can talk about, choose what you can talk about, even when tired, right? Even when tired. For instance, if I'm even when I'm tired, I can talk about math because I'm so passionate about mathematics, right? So that's one way to avoid burnout. So for my own channel, you get to see things about education, talking about mathematics. Recently, I've been teaching Excel. At some point, I started teaching data analysis, data science, and all that. In fact, I didn't want to teach Excel at all because I felt Excel is just basic and everybody can just, you can find thousands of YouTube channels where they teach Excel. But people spoke to me like, oh, you've done Python, you've done data analysis, data science. Then what stops you from making videos on Excel? So you see, I'm responding to my audience. And I discovered that when I started data, at some point, right, I was having, my number of subscribers was close to my number of videos. So, but when I started teaching data science, the gap began to widen. It was on data science that I hit 1,000 subscribers. I think I'm going to make a video on how I made got to 1,000 subscribers. So I'm over 1,000 subscribers now and all that. So I'll be sharing all this with you in this on this for going by this playlist, right? So now, well, of course, I've talked about niche, right? One topic forever, start focused, expand later. Well, when we say niche, right, the idea here is this, that when we talk about niche, we are not saying that niche is not the same thing as one topic forever. Just like I told you, the passion started with mathematics, and from there I began to branch out into talking about scholarships, talking about personal development. Even I also have some Bible talks, just like I told you. So the key is start focused and expand later, right? Start focused, all right, then expand later. That's really important. Now, talking about naming of channel, I think that was, at first I was going to think, I was thinking maybe I should, since the passion was basically about mathematics, right? I was thinking I should just name it Math with EJD, but I felt instead of doing that, I should just use my name, because my name should be the brand, right? Because I have so many parts to me. For the longest, I've been very passionate about academics. I've been passionate about development. That's uh, development, right? Societal development, training people to get better, and even spirituality, right? So these are all things I'm passionate about. So every of my involvement has been in this area. So I just felt, instead of just saying maths with EJD, I should just keep it open and I just use my name, Emmanuel Jason Yondan. So that's the name of my channel. And then I'm able to talk about all of these aspects. So, I mean, that's like talking about personal name versus brand name now. There are pros and cons, right? So, using my personal name and using brand name, there can be issues surrounding that. But whichever one you choose, yeah, I mean, one con of choosing a brand name is that it can limit you. So if I had chosen Maths with EJD, it may not be that easy for me to branch out like I'm branching out now. Okay. So, and of course, in using my YouTube link, so I just chose at EJ Dance. So pretty easy, just goes and like that. So the tip is, when you're choosing a channel name, keep it short, make it easy to remember. All right. Avoid hard to spell words and think searchable and pronounceable. So let your channel be easily searchable. So I mean, my channel is my name basically. So just look for my name and then you can easily stumble on my channel. In fact, if you're not looking for my channel, if for some reason you just heard about me somewhere and you just Google my name, one of the things you see is my channel. So I think that way it also helps a lot. So there are some extra things we should talk about, some bonus tips you should pay attention to, right? Um, don't wait for perfect conditions. So don't wait for perfection, right? Don't wait for perfection. That's very important. Then two, don't overthink your first video. Don't overthink your first video. All right? Just do it. Don't overthink your first video. Just publish, right? Then next, don't chase trends. Don't chase trends. Don't chase trends without purpose. Trends without purpose. Okay? Just do it. And the deal is, after you release your first video, you discover things you didn't do well, and then you can work, you can get better and keep fine-tuning and keep getting better, basically. So at the end of the day, I mean, just start. I think that's the summary of this whole thing. So if this helped you, be sure to subscribe and comment uh, on my channel, and I love to check it out. We can interact. If you have further questions, I can always make a video to clarify based on my personal journey, right? I'm just a growing YouTuber, by the way. So it's not like I've only been on this a bit above 1 year. So in the next video, definitely I'll be showing you how I teach maths on YouTube. So you want to stay tuned. A number of people have asked me before that, how exactly do I teach maths on YouTube? Because they wonder, how do I get to write on the screen and all those things. So I'm going to be talking about that in the next video. So be sure to subscribe to this channel.